Whether it's music or life, timing is everything. I happened to knock on the door of in a neighborhood that has been heavily solicited by salesmen. And you know, it's all about knocking on the right door at the right time. But unfortunately, I think this was the wrong door at the wrong time, because when I got up to the door, there was a little placard on the wall, and it said, "We love our vacuum, we gave it the office, and we found God." And I want to get that sign. But timing is everything. One of the shows I used to love as a kid, television shows, was a show called Get Smart, which I think they resurrected and made into a movie. And one of Maxwell Smart's famous lines was, "I missed it by that much." And for those of you who have come all the way to Longboat Key, Florida, to spend that much anticipated warm winter weekend, and you came this week, I'm sorry, but you missed it by that much. Well, 2,000 years ago, God knocked on the door of this planet, and the sign read, "No vacancy. No room at the inn." It was almost as if God missed it by that much. But when you really look at it in the larger context of things, the timing was perfect. From the book of Galatians chapter 4, Paul said, "In the fullness of time, God sent a Son to redeem those in bondage." Now, there are two ways of understanding time in the biblical context. One is chronological time. It is chronos. It has to do with particular years and months and seasons and dates and hours. The other is kairos. It has to do with the fullness of time, the ripe moment, the perfect moment. And in the fullness of time, the moment was perfect for the sending of Messiah Jesus. And it was perfect for a couple of reasons. One, it was perfect because it was a time of tremendous suffering. The first century was a time of absolute and grinding poverty. Even during the so-called Pax Romana, the time of affluence and peace and security, there was only affluence and peace and security for the privileged few, but the masses of the population were living in grinding and absolute poverty. Now, many of us know nothing of absolute poverty. This stands in contrast to the relatively liberal definition of poverty which we use in our country. Absolute poverty has to do with people who don't have enough fresh water or enough food to stay healthy or stay alive. People who spend many of their waking hours gathering food or firewood to stay alive. And today, 1/4 of the world's population lives in absolute poverty. And I don't have to go on with a litany about man's inhumanity to man, in addition to the hunger and deprivation and suffering that humanity endures. Like the first century, we too live in a time of tremendous human suffering. And not only tremendous human suffering, but the earth itself is suffering. The planet itself, as Paul said in Romans chapter 8, the passage which Dan read earlier, the earth itself is groaning under the weight of its own suffering. Lester Brown, in his book, The State of the Earth, said what most of us now understand as the reality of the planet on which we live. Every major indicator shows a deterioration in natural systems. Forests are shrinking. Deserts are expanding. Croplands are losing topsoil. The stratospheric ozone layer continues to thin. Greenhouse gases are accumulating. The number of plant and animal species is diminishing. Air pollution has reached health-threatening levels in hundreds of cities around the world, and damage from acid rain can be seen on every continent. The world is suffering. The planet is suffering. We're now beginning to see how fragile and how vulnerable our planet might be. And we're starting to ask the question, what kind of earth are we going to leave for our children and our grandchildren? Now as then, the time is perfect because it's a time of great human suffering. Secondly, the time was perfect because it was a time of great expectation. In the first century, everybody was looking for a Messiah. It was kind of Messiah mania. And so here comes one. But it's not the kind of Messiah that people expected. Not a Savior who would let people off the hook, who would bail people out. But one who came to show us and teach us that the Messiah can be born within each of us. And that we, working as gods, as spirits co-creator, can help refashion and recreate the earth based on values of love and justice and mercy and righteousness. It was a time of great expectation, and still is. A great hope, great expectation. People are now beginning to expect something more out of their lives. I see the yearning for a more satisfying life. And maybe that was one of the benefits of the economic meltdown. People are wanting something more, something different. People are becoming a little dissatisfied with the raw consumerism and materialism that we bought into. I read an interesting story in a news magazine recently. It had to do with people rediscovering the simple pleasures of the things that are really important. Family life, relationships, community, shared experiences. It told the story of one family in particular. And apparently this was revolutionary to them and to a lot of other people. They said that they always had so much money to throw around. And they constantly bought their kids $100 sneakers and the latest gadget, the latest toy, whatever it was, and things went south with the economic bust. But they discovered something that was more precious to them, the shared experiences of family life. So they went on Craigslist, they bought an old canoe for $200, and now they spend every weekend in the park, playing together, picnicking together as a family. Isn't that a radical and novel idea? People have to become dissatisfied before they're willing to make a change. That's just human nature. And now people, I think, are beginning in small ways to expect more, beginning to realize our interconnectedness with each other and with the planet and with the suffering many, and beginning to realize that the suffering many have a tremendous impact on the happiness of the privileged few, and that would be us. So the moment was perfect because it was a time of great suffering, of great expectation, and finally a time of great opportunity.